Whoa, welcome to the podcast with twins in it. Because the reason I said it like that is because uh, we've had an executive meeting, i.e., my mother ranted at me while I was driving, and we're going to change the name from Twin Killing in a bonus segment at the end of the show. We don't know what the new name is yet. It's going to be exciting. So, welcome to the show with no name. Feels good to be home on the range. How's it going, Marcus?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Oh, doing pretty good. Uh, couple, not exactly sponsorships, but associated dealies. This show is a basically official partner with Soy Saucy, the new hit comedy show featuring Asian American and Latino American comedians. We sold out the Dow Comedy Studio in Koreatown in March, and in September we're taking it to the 75 seater The Crow in the heart of Santa Monica. It's a big show.
Nice.
Soysaucy.com for tickets. Use promo code Jason for $5 off and to let them know that Jason Luna sent you. Obviously, I'll be performing on that show. Also brought to you by, not really, Nintendo Switch 2. Because I don't have one and I really want one. How's that going, Marcus? It's
Trying. Don't haunt me for the rest of my life. Oh.
ironic because I got a ghost skeleton. What do you think the creep is? He looks like a skeleton in the movie.
Uh, I have a feeling he's a ghost, but just worn away, I guess. I don't know what.
Movie does not clarify because it's not a character in either. Well, we can't talk about too much about Creepshow 2 because we haven't seen it yet, but it's not. They don't really establish his character. They try to make him a direct copy of the what's his name? Crypt Keeper in the TV shows and comic books later on, which were not sanctioned by George Romero or Stephen King, and not as good. Anyway, okay, sorry to get off the rails. We're recording very early today, a little behind the scenes, 9 a.m. West Coast time, so I am feeling squirrely. I guess not much else to do. We'll talk about. Oh, God. Let's do the improv warm up. Again. Again. Okay. So it's a variation we've done. Good rap, bad rap. Here's a game called Beastie Rap. Now, Marcus, you're very familiar with the band the Beastie Boys,
I am.
and they do this thing. I don't know what. I guess it's more the early oeuvre, but they do it off and on the whole time, where they set up a rhyme, and then at the end, excuse me, God, energy. Well, not the gummy worms. Okay. Uh, um, God. So one Beastie Boy sets up a rhyme, and the second line, instead of just saying the rhyme, all three Beastie Boys say the word at once. Trying to
I
think
feel like
of,
the
trying to think of what,
the very first album Beastie Boys thing, they kind of.
yeah, I guess that's what most people associate Beastie Boys with. Some people think the Beastie Boys are a generic, vaguely racist or anti-Semitic rap band from the 80s. They don't even know about their like 30 years of
Anti-Semitic. They're Jewish as they're
well,
still Jewish.
racist. I don't know. Some racist, sexist. I get confused what they get accused of. Probably too much, but whatever. But uh, my point was the only example I can remember is there's at one point where the guy goes, I sing like Jerry Lewis, and then they all go Lewis.
Even echoes, you know.
Yeah, so going on, great for podcasting. Uh, so the game is it's very similar to Good Rap, where you're setting up, or good, well, similar to both games. Okay, whatever. You're setting up a very obvious rhyme.
Yeah.
But you get to the second line, and you're about to say the rhyme. You don't say it. Usually it's a group of people, but it's just you and me. But the other person will shout the word out.
Okay.
If you fail, you have to try again. It's not that high stakes. But, yeah. So
Okay.
I'll try to do one. I'm a dentist. I like to drink vermouth. You got an abscess. I gotta drill that. Oh
Tooth.
yeah. Boom, 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 boom. Hit it. All right, all right. You try one.
I'm a little depressed because of the outside there's fog. So to make myself happier, I'll pet my.
Dog. Could have been cat. Turtle.
Oh my God. I said fog, so it ends with the dog. Right? You're gonna criticize you.
But the idea is that you whatever the context sets up the word you're gonna say.
Well, because the rhyming word is fog, and I'm petting something that rhymes with fog.
You could have said, "I'm gonna pet Fido. He's my," or something
Oh,
like
so we get
that. The
spell
idea is
out to the.
there's language in the game that says the thing you're gonna. That's their answer.
That's why improv is a dying art form. I've said it.
Yeah, because insert joke about going to my improv shows. Okay. All right, we're all warmed up. Let's talk about Creepshow. It's probably not the most famous movie we talked about on the show. Certainly, you know, it's got a lot of celebrity factor, especially in the horror genre. As it says on my T-shirt, the Masters of Horror. Are you looking at the screen? Masters of Horror and the Macabre. George Romero and Stephen King. They come together.
Yep.
Yep. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know much about the actual like pre-production of this. Just seems like George Romero did Night of the Living Dead, and then he got a Hollywood contract that allowed him to take on a more ambitious project. And Stephen King was impressed enough to write the screenplay.
Yeah, the Wikipedia page doesn't delve into like s- s- George Romero was always a big fan of Stephen King, and they talked or something, or Stephen King wanted to. Nothing about like wanting to make something about the a film adaptation of pulp horror comics from the 50s or something.
Yeah, as we'll get into, it's very odd that this is. I think it's not even close, visually at least, the most like direct homage ever to like EC Comics. Obviously, they were like directly scripts pulled from them for the Tales from the Crypt TV show, but they didn't have as integrated effects. But
Yeah,
yeah,
no comic book imagery.
I mean the only thing that Tales from the Crypt always had was he'd say like, "Here's this story. It's really scary," and they would do a mock-up cover. It was just a cover, but that was still cool. But yeah. Okay, enough preambles. Get to my notes. So I have a general rule about this movie, which is kind of funny because I also want to mention for backstory. Uh, it's also peripheral stuff, but Carrie came out, I think, in like 77, 78. I didn't look it up. Something like that. Like
Sounds right.
20s. This movie came out in like 82. Is that right?
82.
So this is,
May of 82 at Cannes, and then November 82, right after Halloween in the general film release.
did it do good at the box office since you have the Wikipedia page up?
Eh, yes, it ranked number one at the box office. It's the highest grossing horror film for Warner Brothers that year, at over 21 million. The budget was about 8 million, so that they turned a profit. And that was just US receipts. I assume it had some sort of oh, it's like U.S. and Canada. So I assume it had some overseas monies as well.
I know Americans like horror, foreign horror movies. I don't know what the market is for American horror movies in. I guess there's something in Italy or France or I don't know.
Any major studio releases generally releases movies in Europe. I guess I don't know for certain about this one, but
Probably it's not like a record-breaking financial success, but yeah, it probably got some kind of promotion. Okay, because this movie is written by Stephen King. And I think we both sort of. Oh, sorry. The only point about the '78 Carrie, this movie came out in '82, is that this is still relatively new to Stephen King as a household name and celebrity. He's only had a handful of, like, admittedly very successful movies. It's not quite as entrenched as the cinematic force, although I guess he's already getting there. So so it's a little bit different, I guess, than how you and I would treat him. Speaking of which, I had a note here because obviously Stephen King wrote the screenplay. If I liked something, I would go, "Wow, Stephen King wrote this. That's surprising." And if I didn't like it, I'd be like, "Classic Stephen King. What a jerk." Because I think we both have a sort of conflicted point of view on his oeuvre as a cinematic adaptation novelist, whatever you want to call it.
which mainly comes from we're both. I might be more than you. Kubrick files. Love Stanley Kubrick and how viciously Stephen King complained about The Shining. I think affected our opinion of him.
Also, just there's a lot of bad movies because he didn't have a direct hand in them and they were cheaply made and stuff. But yeah, yes, that's probably the biggest factor. And also, he directed that movie with the Maximum Overdrive.
It's kind of lame, yeah.
Stanley Kubrick watched that. And he's like, "Oh, I did much better." I don't know how Stanley Kubrick talks.
And I wasn't even on. He was British American, Kubrick, so his accent might have been a little weird.
The anecdotes I've heard about him, he sounds kind of American, but I guess it could be kind of both. But yeah, yeah, well, that's a different show with more research. Okay, so we open on a very generic shot of a spooky suburban house at Halloween. And speaking of Halloween, I don't even know what's on Halloween, but the shot reminded me of Halloween almost exactly. Do you think that was intentional?
I don't know. I possibly, but I want to lean towards no, just because like how would you if you were to try to set up at a home that was Halloween, you'd put a big jack-o'-lantern in the window and or something. So that's what they did. I don't know.
Yeah, but it's just like the whole suburbs, and especially getting way ahead of ourselves. The very end of the movie when it's shot in daylight, it reminded me a lot of Haddonfield. Like, admittedly, that's just suburbs, but
Yeah.
went to sure, it's just my brain. But, yeah. Creep.
Other than that, there's nothing really like oh that's definitely a Halloween reference.
No, and the design was almost. There's a lot of production design issues with this movie. Uh, Admittedly, it was very ambitious. Because before the house, we get the cartoon. It's not even really a cartoon. It's like a motion graphic. You just see like a blue ghost on a painted background going like, "Ooh." And it looks kind of looks like straight to video Little Mermaid. It was like 10 years before the Little Mermaid, but very very cheap design. Your thoughts?
I don't remember the. Oh, I guess I do a little bit.
It's very short.
Um,
It's not a narrative device. It's just like, this is Creepshow, and they show like a logo, and at the end of the movie they do the same thing. The movie's over, and then the blue ghost kind of goes like, "Ugh."
is that like the title cards before to get to the house?
Yes, but only the beginning and the end. There's nothing in the middle. But yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I like the movie. It was very comic book looky. Um, Heavy on the letters looking like they're dripping blood almost.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, admittedly, it's harder for any movie because I've seen this movie. This is your first time ever, right?
Yeah, I don't think I've even seen clip. I actually did many years ago, flipping through the channels trying to fall asleep television. Bravo countdown of the scariest movie moments in movie history, and this movie was on the list.
Uh-huh.
So I seen in clip form the ending of the Bugs one.
Oh, it's not even the scariest one for me, but we'll get to that, I guess. Uh, my point was for because like that's the difference between our point of view is like I sought this out and saw it on DVD. Then I watched it on cable at least once, maybe twice. AMC will show it every once in a while, and I'll put it on in the background because I love it. And I saw it again for this taping, so I mean, I'm sure a lot of the like. My point was the logo with the cool dripping and stuff. I think impacted me a lot the first time I saw it. By the third time, I was kind of like not really scared as much. There were still some
mhm.
moments which we'll get to, but yeah. Right away, we get the template for the whole movie. I think it's the most extreme here. Is what's his Tom Atkins? That's his name. The dad actor. He's in a lot of B movies. Anyway, he's wearing a green shirt. He's standing against a green wall, and it's shot very brightly. And it's very weird for such a relatively classic scary horror movie how the lighting is all bright and hyper saturated. Your thoughts?
I mean, it's more realistic for how a suburban home with kids would be at night.
Yeah, I did think the green on green was oddly repellent, but I guess that's also the maybe subtext that the dad's not the coolest guy in the world.
He's very old school. He freaking hits Billy.
He threatens him afterwards too. Yeah. So speaking of, his name's Billy.
Joe King as Billy Hopkins. Yes.
Timmy and Billy are the two names I never would take seriously in a movie. No one calls their kids that.
He probably did that intentionally because it's very 50s comic book.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah. Yeah, I am interrupt, but there's more severe examples down the road of things that seemed like he just Stephen King just threw them in there because they're dumb 50s things, unless because they make sense. Uh, so we had talked about this off camera, so I'll give you the floor a little bit. You don't like Joe King's performance in these brief wraparounds?
just, I'm tired of demonic kids.
Yeah, I think it made a lot of sense to me because on the literal level, because he's physically and verbally abused, kind of reminded me a little bit of well, it's kind of catch-all word, but sort of an autistic or closed off relationship to the world because his dad is not being nice to him. So on that level, I was kind of like, it makes sense. And obviously, yeah, I mean, it's not as deliberate as The Omen, which is probably a better movie, but literally vague devil stuff. At least this was,
It might be too harsh because for what Billy's into, because when I was watching, I was like, what a weird thing to say. I hope you rot in hell. But he is reading horror comics, so maybe he is really into that sort of concept. So,
oh yeah, there was. I briefly want to mention there was a moment on the wide shot of the house where Tom Atkins is yelling at his son, and he's like, "What are you doing reading this shit?" And I thought that was just funny because that could be like a caption review of the movie.
what are you doing watching this shit?
Yeah, yeah. And also, like, it is true that like if he is a demonic kid, it sort of fits. This movie has a lot of like ready-made archetypes, especially for like the monsters and stuff. So it does make sense to sort of like lay it out like we know what's happening because this is a short comic book that eh.
Well, the fact that the when he says that the the creep appears smiling at him from a window, it's almost like he sold his soul to, let's just call him the devil. I don't know if creep works for the devil or not,
Yes,
but
I call him the creep. Oogity boogity.
do you think he works for the devil, the creep?
It's very vague. It seems like he's just like this freelance mischief god. Because across the movie, I was surprised that a lot of people do die, but they sort of leave it open ended in certain parts, as we'll get into, and it doesn't seem as conclusive as a lot of horror villains. Because
I think the
obviously,
creep,
the creep does nothing in the movie. I mean, the closest is the mail order thing at the end, but even that's not him per se.
the creep is a big fan of the comic book because he opens the comic book, kind of. They hint at that.
Yes, and the posters for every iteration, as I discussed, Creepshow 2, blah, 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 they play with him reading the comic book a lot. Well, look, he's reading the comic book right here. Whee! All right. So I was gonna briefly mention because this is the modern design of the creep. When they realized he was like the star of the show, they made him all fat and like monstrous. I really preferred the cheap skeleton with eyeballs that was in this movie. Seemed to
Yeah,
play off the humorous nature of the film a little more. But yeah, yeah.
I agree. I kind of like the wayfish isn't the right word because that's more of a female thing, but uh, thinner gypsy type look to my demon types. Then
Also, I mean, I don't have his Funko yet, but the Crypt Keeper, both in the TV show and the comics, is basically in the comic books he's a chubby guy, very small, and then obviously in the TV show he's like a emaciated corpse. So it does seem kind of like the best versions of these stories have skinny guys. No shame, no fat shaming. All right, moving on. Jeez. So I might bring this up multiple times, but I think his name's John Harrison. He's a composer and a film guy. He was best friends with George Romero in the Night of the Living Dead days and did a lot of George Romero's movies. He did the score to this. Maybe that's John Harrison. It's something Harrison.
you got it. You got it. It's John Harrison.
And I know in the past you have been very attuned to potential scores you didn't like. I thought the score of this was a real letdown compared to other genre films, like John Carpenter.
I didn't notice it for the most part. I actually thought it was a decent horror synthesizer type soundtrack.
Yeah, maybe if you watch it 3 times, you'll start noticing it. But it felt like it was a lot of like, like I have to repeat this piano note to keep because it's scary, and then it didn't seem super well tuned and like well orchestrated.
Yeah, I guess I'd pay attention more to that. Like in a second viewing, specifically focused on the music. I noticed it's not a tune thing we're talking about, but kind of don't blame him for the thematic things we're talking about because there's very similar themes across multiple of these stories. So the because a score often, especially in a horror movie, you do the ring when
Yeah,
the ghost the monster slasher whatever comes around a corner and is about to kill someone or something.
yeah.
Uh,
It's when you made that
not
one.
like
Yeah, yeah.
George Romero and Stephen King did John Harrison any favors by the repetitiveness of the what's happening from story to story. So
Yeah, we'll get into it, but I thought the movie peaked after 2 stories, and the last one was interesting, but the intermediary stories was a little like, I get it. This is long. I kind of got bored. Not bored, but like noticed it. But we'll get into it. So the first cut to is Father's Day. my first thought was, I guess this was intentional. It was very weird telling apart all of the rich people.
It wasn't that hard for me. They actually spell it out very clearly. But except for Ed Harris, they're all family. Um, the the bougie woman, older woman, is the mom, and then she has two kids with her, and then Ed Harris is the daughter's husband.
So wait a minute. She's the mom. Who is Bedelia, and how is Bedelia related to the wife of Ed Harris and
They
the
say it.
guy?
They say it. They don't look that different in age. I mean, which is possible because our own mother has a an aunt who's only 4 years older than her, so it happens. But uh, Aunt Bedelia is the matriarch of the house's aunt.
So she's the aunt to the old woman who sitting in the parlor for most of the movie.
Yes, and then the monster is Bedelia's dad.
Oh, I guess I knew that kind of. It is weird. Well, because he doesn't really discriminate based on who the person is and his murderous rage. So let's get into it.
Never mind. Wikipedia says that Sylvia, who is the matriarch, is the aunt of Richard and Cass, along with Cass's new husband Hank. But so that part I messed up. But Bedelia is Sylvia's aunt.
Sylvia is the matriarch or the daughter?
S-
Well, not the daughter.
Not really matriarch because none of those are her kids. They're her nieces and nephews. They're
Whatever.
all
The oldest woman in the house. That wasn't my point.
yes. She's the aunt to a niece and nephew, and the niece is married to Ed Harris.
And then how's Bedelia related to the 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 brother and sister?
She's a great aunt.
God, this is needlessly confusing because the movie makes it seem like a lot more straight line than that did. But whatever. So something interesting about this movie that changed over multiple viewings is because in a typical Tales from the Crypt episode, if a monster's gonna come back from the dead and kill a bunch of, meandering bad waspy people or whatever,
Hmm.
you'd expect the zombie to be like a good person or like wronged person or something. But in the flashbacks, as I call him, not George Kennedy, because he looks like George Kennedy, he's a total douchebag. He's almost worse than they are.
Yeah, he murders Bedelia's fiance in a hunting accident.
So it's just
Quote
weird.
unquote, quote unquote hunting accident.
So it's just weird to me that like instead of making a show about revenge and they come back to get their just desserts, it's just like uh hatred from this guy. Maybe more sympathetic to the victims than I expected. But yeah.
I think it's intentional. I've heard George Romero get interviewed, and across all of his films, even though Stephen King wrote this, George Romero likes to criticize the rich. So he probably relished the fact that uh, his name is whatever, whatever the zombie evil father is a evil rich man, and then there's evil rich younger people who relish the fact that he's dead. So it's bad on bad rich family. I don't know.
Yeah. Yep. Uh, moving on. I really so not surprising because he's the breakout star of. I was gonna say the movie, but no, just this one. But Ed Harris. Uh, there's a moment I didn't remember because they're telling the story that I don't know their names, whatever. Father's father killed Bedelia's husband in a hunting accident, and they cut to Ed Harris, and he kind of has this moment like, "Oh man, you could have killed me." It was like it was very like subtle
Hmm.
moment. It's good acting. Yeah. Here's a weird nitpick. Uh, so Bedelia's driving down the road to go down to father's grave.
Yep.
Is this movie set in Britain? Because she's driving the car on the wrong side of the car.
It could be,
Could
and
be.
she has a weird accent. The actress who plays Bedelia is Vivica Lindfors, and she's actually Swedish American. She was born in Sweden.
Oh,
Um,
so I wonder.
uh, but none of the stories say where explicitly they are. I mean, I guess I imagine I just assume they're all America. But
Yeah, because I mean, well, no, there's no real. The Tales from the Crypt magazine definitely would have stories from Middle East or Britain. They didn't care. So I mean, it's possible. It's hard to say. There's a mix of accents with the actors too. There's a lot of like austere, quasi-British accents, but Ed Harris obviously is not British. His wife isn't really either.
the woman who plays the matriarch, her actress name is Carrie Nye.
Sounds very British.
No, she's American.
No.
She's
So
actually born in Mississippi, of all things.
I don't know what George Romero was thinking because either it's set in Britain or he just wants to convey that he just found a car that happened to have the wrong side of the transmission, which is also possible, I guess. But yeah, yeah.
But she was drinking and driving, so that might explain why she was driving the wrong side of the road.
So her car was on the wrong side.
Right.
Oh, the steering wheel was on the where the passenger side would be on an American car.
Oh, I didn't catch that. Maybe then.
I'll never know.
But no one else has an English. No one has an English accent. When he says, "Where's my cake, you bitch?" He doesn't have a British accent at all.
Yeah, some people. Yeah, it's probably American with some austerity because I sense British-ish, but it was just maybe just like because they're old and rich, so it's hard to tell sometimes. Yeah, it was very convoluted, but I mean, goes back to the whole I'm writing a pulpy horror comic screenplay that she has to meditate at this grave every for an hour every year before dinner, and that
I
she
think that it's kind of, I don't know. I, it kind of comes off as mean-spirited because I just whatever people. She's got complex feelings because it is her father, and she feels like she had to kill him. So just there's complex feelings, and maybe this ritual helps her grieve.
yeah, I have bigger nitpicks. It was definitely weird to announce it, but whatever. Oh yeah, another nitpick. It was I don't know if you noticed it. Did you notice the flower that Bedelia plucked to give to the Father's Day grave?
I remember plucking. What did the flower look like?
Here's the thing. It was orange, huge bulb, and it's sort of like strung out, and it looked like it was like a balloon or something. It was a very like it almost felt stylized, but I don't know what the point of that was. But it was very like, yeah, I guess it was fits the color scheme of the movie a little bit with the whole bright lights and stuff. But I don't know,
Yeah,
yeah.
I was gonna say is it's kind of a maybe a subtle thing that I don't know if it was Thomas Savini or another person who worked on the movie trying to insert things with bright colors and big bright colored things to kind of be like the comic books.
Yeah, arguably they could have done more with that, but the movie already does a lot, so I don't want to put down too much. But yeah, yeah, another nitpick. It's kind of, I mean, obviously it's the whole plot of the short, but who has ever heard of a Father's Day cake? And who would freaking ask for it every freaking year?
His name's Nathan, which is thought they could have picked a better old-timey name.
It's very
Uh,
good for like a banker and stuff, though. But yeah, keep going. Yeah,
I don't know. It's the type of self-absorbed douchebag that he is. He wants cake more often than other people.
it was just funny. Yeah, it's like no one's like because I makes I don't know. There's no commentator from a distance who could be like, "That's kind of weird." But oh yeah, so this is my favorite shot in the whole movie. I don't know if you have one, probably not, but whatever. When he crawls out of the grave for the first time, they do this thing where they shoot him from the side with like it's like a red and I think another color on the side, and it's daylight, and it's like one of the greatest, most beautiful cinematic compositions I've ever seen. It was weird, almost how good it was.
hmm.
'Cause it,
After he strangles Bedelia or something.
I think it's before he's crawling out of the grave, and they pump in red light on the side, and it just has a really nice contrast to it. And but it's also like very showy. But I mean that's kind of how the movie rolls. But, yeah, yeah. I like the light design in general. Like, I guess it's my general point, but yeah. Also, we're almost gonna have to take a break, but the reason this is my favorite segment in the movie is because very tight economy of the storytelling. Like the plot beats,
Hmm.
I remember before I watched it again, were literally everything that happened in the short. They cut out of almost everything, like in a quick, dynamic way. It still makes sense, and it ends, and you feel like, oh, it didn't take too long. Felt like the right length, very well edited. I just want to make that point that like very succinct, tight scripting and editing. Yeah.
Uh, Kind of a negative with that though across the film is the beats are very similar and the timing's very similar across the stories.
Yeah, they tried to sort of elongate, and there's positives to it in the Hell Holbrook one that we'll get to in a second, but they did try to sort of elongate. But I agree that like that is a problem with the movie that I felt like the movie was satisfactory with two shorts, and then the last ones were kind of like, oh, I get it, like this again kind of thing. Yeah, and start brand new thought in 10 minutes.
Okay.
And we're back, and yeah, I agree that the this movie has some problems with being kind of abrupt and quick in its pacing. The sequel, Creepshow 2, is much it's probably balanced the other way, where they padded out less good stories to make it longer. So you never get what you want. Uh, Brief wrap up on Father's Day. So obviously, oh, okay. Well, actually, because I don't get too broad of a discussion because we still have a bunch of other shorts to talk about. But what did you think of the quote unquote validity, twistiness, whatever of the ending that the the one woman who's in the house the whole time ends up with her head on a cake?
Let's preface that said favorite shot of the movie. Actually, I don't know why the kitchen was so blue, but I think it worked well visually that the kitchen was so blue when they walked into it.
Was it? What?
And
Yeah, it was definitely weird. Yeah, go ahead.
I enjoyed the cake thing. I didn't expect it because the person I hated the most was Bedelia. So I kind of was not expecting him to go to the trouble of making a cake of Sylvia, the woman of the house.
Arguably, aside from maybe Ed Harris, the most benign character in the movie. I mean, she seems pretty nice to everyone, all things
Well,
considered. But yeah, yeah.
Nathan was a douchebag in life and death, so kills everyone.
So I guess a logistical question, and maybe this is obvious, maybe it's not, because we have more ambiguous endings coming ahead. But do you think Father, or I guess Nathan, not Nathan, what's his name? Is that his name?
Nathan is the father.
Does he
Where's
does,
my cake, bitch?
does he
That
kill?
guy.
Does he kill the gay? The well, I keep calling him the gay son. I don't know. He seemed gay to me, but whatever. And the dancing did he kill the brother and sister at the end after the camera went off?
Probably off camera, I would say yes.
I thought it was surprisingly more open ended because he wants his cake and he gets it and they're scared, but they leave it a little unclear what that leads to. So I thought that was interesting choice. Probably dead, but it was not as deliberate as a lot of Tales from the Crypt episodes where it's like literally like knife over your head or whatever.
It's possible he got his cake and crawled back into his grave. I don't know. I
Yeah,
guess.
and yeah. So I want to just briefly mention, talking about how kind of contradicting myself. Because my favorite shot of the movie was him crawling out of the grave with the red light. Probably my favorite thing they did in every version of this movie, pretty close at least. I almost thought it was kind of French. Maybe you could tell me what nationality this reminds you of. But they do these reaction shots where they clearly reset them against a blank background, and the character screams. And
Hmm.
I just thought that was a really effective way of using sort of non-diegetic framing to convey the emotional content of the story. It's also comic booky, but I just thought it was more effective as like an emotional sort of like process of cinema thing. French or
Yeah.
Italian?
The ending shots work very well for the story.
What do you think? That kind of shot where they cut away from the back and forth to a standalone shot of them screaming. You think that's more Italian horror or French artisticness?
Guess Italian, but part of that is the way Nathan the zombie, I guess. Yeah, he's a walking corpse that's a zombie. Looks very Italian horror looking.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know if George Romero was going for this, but the way he's sort of crumbling flesh, it kind of reminded me of White Cake. When I think about it, a little bit.
White cake?
You know how, not White Cake color wise, but like you know how cake crumbles off of the base.
Oh,
His
I guess.
it kind of made a
I
cake.
just think of anything food related looking at a zombie, but
Yeah, especially it was pretty gross zombie too. But yeah. So that about wraps up Father's Day. I thought it was a very effective story there. So we get into the second story. It's very abrupt. Not abrupt, but I guess abrupt because we get this frame narrative that, in theory, Joe King or whatever his character name was, Billy, sure, two type Billy, was reading the comic book, and the stories are from the comic book, but they don't really use it as a wraparound. Like he's in his room reading, and something else happens or anything. They just sort of like use the inside of the magazine cutaway, like ads in the magazine or letters to the editor, and then they wrap around to the next one. Just pointing that out. I thought that was interesting because a lot of anthology movies use deliberate, like one person tells a story, which leads us to our next story. What a transition. Was it the Legend of Jordy Verrill? Story of Jordy
The
Verrill?
Lonesome Death of Jordy Verrill.
Yeah. I don't want to say yeah. I thought this was pretty good, but uh oh, so you know what we're talking about? I think this is the most. I was saying if Stephen King does something good, you go like, wow, I can't believe Stephen King wrote that. That's impossible. Uh, like well structured intentional humor is something I never associate with Stephen King, and this is the only one of the shorts that is like legitimately funny. Like there's two gags I wanted to mention, both very obvious, where he goes to give the in his imagination give the meteor to the president of the college or not the scientist of the college, whatever. And the scientist is like, I'll give you $75 for it. And he's like, this is a meteor from space. You're an idiot. I want $200. And he goes, keep counting as he's putting the money down. I thought it was a
Yeah.
very good juxtaposition of irony that he thinks he outsmarted the imaginary doctor. And then another clever thing, kind of funny, is that they do this close up of the door that's like something like university, something like that. And then when he imagines going to the doctor's office, when he gets infected, there's a close up of the sign that says doctor's office, and the door opens, and it's the same guy playing the doctor and the professor. So it's like in his imagination, he only has one space for imagination. That was pretty
Yeah.
funny. Yeah, yeah. That's the only funny thing in the. That's really the only funny or almost noteworthy thing in the entire. There's noteworthy things that happen, but it's just him. So yeah. Uh, oh yeah. Okay, more me. I have a lot of meandering thoughts on this because he's watching TV the whole time. So I either looked things up or just noted it. Like, did you notice? We're both wrestling fans. Do you notice the wrestling match he's watching on the television?
Remember he's watching wrestling, but I don't remember anything about it.
So this was I can with my I have enough knowledge to pinpoint this fairly well. So this is W. It's probably WWF, but in any case, it's WWF before Vince McMahon took over. He was working as an announcer, technically an employee of his dad. The match was a world title defense: Bob Backlund versus one of the Wild Samoans.
Hmm.
And just on a totally unrelated wrestling tangent, two of my favorite, especially early '80s, pre flashy WWF wrestlers, two of the best workers ever. They have very good matches, both of them. So it would have been a good match to watch. Vince McMahon was in this movie. Do you expect that?
Nope.
That'd be the real creep show.
Yep.
You know. So this is really when I first started noticing the major like this is a 1950s comic book, so we can do dumb stuff that we don't have to explain. So the meteor lands,
Hmm.
and it's this like circle, and it's blue. And when he pours water on it, because it's hot, it turns green. And then the circle like falls apart, and the things inside move around. And it just seemed like a lot of intricate stuff that didn't really need all of it.
Guess not. Guess the green was a hint that it's a plant-based alien,
Yeah, but the blue part was a little confusing because I guess it's supposed to be like gestation or
kind of
what.
like water. Yeah.
I'm just kind of jumping to stuff on TV. So I don't know if you noticed later on in the movie when he's getting infected by the alien turning into like a plant thing.
Hmm.
TV's on,
Hmm.
and this old woman's talking to this younger woman. Did you? I don't think you would have known what it was, but did you look it up?
No, I didn't look up any of the TVs.
Because it was actually the Janet Gaynor 1930s version of A Star Is Born.
Oh, I've seen that.
Yeah, I think it was too old for the. the Judy Garland one. It was also in black and white. So, but and I was thinking about it, like, why would it just because it was old and it sort of conveyed the simplicity of his TV, or was there some mixed metaphor about celebrity or stars as in a literal sense?
I have no idea.
Maybe, but maybe a mix of those two. I don't know. Oh yeah, I don't have a lot of thoughts about this one. I enjoyed it. Uh, it had a very like rational flow. I liked how it didn't have a lot of dialogue because obviously he's by himself. Um, I did think it got a little convoluted with the whole plant expanding thing, and I guess the implication is that he's like what's the word? Accidentally spawned the colonization of the planet by the plant.
Very Stephen King thing. Seems like a common thing. I haven't read. I don't think I've ever read a Stephen King book all the way through, but I know of his stories, and it's a theme of his is whatever the horror is spreading and could affect the whole world.
Yeah, and often the horror wins or has a chance to win or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about this. I did sort of enjoy spending time with the character and stuff he's going through, but it also just sort of blends together in terms of the framing and stuff.
I'm not a big fan of person gets diseased and then we watch the disease getting worse and worse type of thing.
Yeah,
And
I would have liked a little more of a clever turn because it's funny at the beginning and then it just sort of becomes. I mean, thankfully it's not like revolting. You won't like throw up watching this or anything because it's just kind of grassy. But but it is sort of like generic. I would have liked it if there was like a actual character that he either turns into or the alien can talk or something. That would have. I think that would have fit the tone of the short better. But I mean, I guess that's a sort of adding plot where there is none. I think about covers it. Pretty straightforward.
it's my least favorite of the shorts, by the way.
Uh, I think I used to agree with you, maybe, but the next one is actually my least favorite. Before we get to that, I want to briefly mention when I first watched this movie, I thought it was really cool that they basically copied the inside of because I actually own at least one EC magazine or reprint of one. Pretty cool that they copied the actual format of a EC horror comic with the letters and the Charles Atlas ads and stuff.
Yeah.
But I would have liked it if the wraparound segments with that stuff had a little more personality or something. Seems a little like, oh, I get it, but like for in terms of movie plot.
I think they're going for more realism, like if you're reading a comic at the time, you would just see these things and they wouldn't jump out
Yeah,
at you or
this kind of goes into the whole lack of a wraparound thing, except for the beginning and end of the movie. Just have something between the shorts to connect them would have been good. Narration by the creep is an obvious thing, but they didn't think of that at this stage. But yeah. Anywho, I'm just putting this out because I don't because this is a weird one. What right there? Oh, okay. So the next one, what's it actually called?
something to tide you over, a punny title.
Yeah, it's funnier than the actual short. Uh, so yeah, we get. So I guess do a little plot before I get to my first nitpick. It's not that, but I'm surprised how because I knew the plot because I've seen the whole thing multiple times, but the movie actually does a kind of clunky way of explaining it. It's like uh, Leslie Nielsen is this evil rich guy
Hmm.
lives on the beach or whatever,
Hmm.
and Is is the woman his daughter?
No, woman's his wife.
That makes less sense to me. But okay, and then Ted Danson's her lover.
Yes.
And how does is there any other existing relationship between Ted Danson and Leslie Nielsen?
Uh, I don't know if they say they're business partners or something. They kind of quickly go to the fa they quickly go to the relationship stuff and not the background stuff.
So what I'm saying is that despite the fact that they talk a lot, and it gets a little boring, uh, they don't really lay out the central conflict super well. I know obviously he's looking for her, which I thought was his daughter, but it's his wife. And Danson's looking for her, and Leslie Nielsen's like, "I'll show you where she is. I have a gun. You have to come with me." Yeah. So before we get further, I thought it was very silly that there's no reason to do this. He calls his house Comfort House, and he calls
Comfort Point.
Comfort Point, and he calls the beach Comfort Station, something like that. There's two comforts. It's very odd.
Wikipedia doesn't say two comforts. The Comfort Point is like the beach town I thought where his beach house was.
Okay, it's a little less silly, but still weird to have two usages of that word.
He owns the entire island, so that's why he can
Yeah, that was also
be
not.
devious and not and have no one is very isolating. So,
I'm sure they said that out loud, but it didn't. It didn't. They could have laid that into the plot better.
well, Ted Danson starts screaming when the and then he says, "Scream as much as you want. I own the whole island," or something like that.
Yeah, they could have laid it out better. It's laid out a little bit. Doing better. Anyway,
This movie's not about laying out; it's about getting straight into BC comic horror tropes.
I was gonna say, speaking of whatever, I said I didn't like John Harrison's score before. This was where I really grated on me because this movie had a lot of shots of various shots of Ted Danson at the beach in distress with no one around him, and the score just goes like ding 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 ding, like it seemed like it took forever to get through all that.
Yeah, I wanted to show painstaking detail, the the drowning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Co- Complaint, but also just something I wanted to speak from memory because I always remember this image because it's so like weird. Is so Leslie Nielsen buries Ted Danson up to the neck and leaves him there, and he passes out, and he wakes up, and there's this like huge, majestic crab with no sand on his body, and it's like colorful crab, and it just looks so fake. The more I think about it, why would there be one crab there? And it doesn't really do a lot either. Do
Yeah.
you think it was
It's just
necessary to have that shot with the crab?
fear what the crab could do is kind of what it is.
Yeah, it's. I mean, again, seeing this movie on repeat viewings, but it seemed a little cheesy to me. It's supposed to be like a red herring, I guess, but you know, yeah. And then just nitpicking with, I think it'll be very difficult and almost hazardous to the equipment as well as other people to make a TV on the beach work. This is standard definition television.
Yeah. I mean, the camera had a tripod thing, so the water only hit the tripods, which had no effect on the electricals of the filming camera. But yeah, the closed circuit TV that he sets up for Ted Danson to watch his lover be in a similar predicament. And eventually does actually it does get it is meant to be temporary because it does get uh broken by the waves. There is a shot of the TV Ted Danson's forced to watch. that it's all staticky and not working anymore because it too much water damage.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, just repeat my complaint that they spend way too long with Ted Danson getting some water in his face and being like, "No, that's some water," and then it just seems like it goes on forever. I did really like the cinematography of. I read about this. They took a tank, like a fish tank. Ted Danson put his head in upside down, and they turned the camera upside down, and it looks really cool because it's like it looks like he's able to act even though he's underwater. That was probably my favorite part of the whole short. Was that shot?
It was a good shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it would have worked well either to I buried you in sand you can't move in and you're gonna drown, and then they quickly cut away to after. I don't know. There's some medium, some middle ground of the
Yeah.
drowning.
It's just so hard because Leslie Nielsen tells you what's going to happen. As a viewer, you know what's going to happen, and then it happens the way it happened. It just doesn't. It seems to be a negatory effect for especially for a suspenseful movie. But
I don't know. Were the EC comics subtle about how people died and stuff?
no, but I think they weren't so deliberate in like saying, "I'm going to kill you like this. You're being killed like this." It was a lot of like, you know, uh, what do you call it? Moment of passion. There's a criminal word for this. You stab someone when you don't expect to, kind of thing, and then you run away, and that I'm just less that subtle criminal behavior. It's just that things happen quickly. Felt like
Yeah.
padding, but it's a complex setup, so I'll give Stephen King credit for trying something, I guess. Uh, I had mixed feelings about the fact that because it's an effective like plot device because Leslie Nielsen goes down to the beach and the body's gone, and he's like freaking out because he's like, that makes no sense. And he looks up and he sees that there's well, first of all, he tells himself, oh, the tide just took the body out. No big deal. He looks up and he sees this bucket. They never talk about the bucket, but the bucket's there in the whole damn short, and the bucket's still there. So on the one hand, it makes sense that like clearly the tide couldn't take the body out if the bucket's still there, but also it's a bucket and they didn't talk about the bucket. It's just weird.
Yeah. I guess you had to dig up the sand some way to make those giant holes.
Yeah, this one felt a lot clunkier on a repeat viewing because of all this stuff. But yeah, it's an ambitious topic. Yeah. Oh, oh yeah. There's another weird narrative reflection off of watching old TV. Leslie Nielsen is watching a movie. I didn't see it when I was watching it, but the Amazon thing told me it was a short film called The Dentist. It starred W.C. Fields. And this is probably why I thought she was his daughter, because in The Dentist, W.C. Fields plays a dentist, and his daughter wants to marry a construction worker or something like that. And W.C. Fields freaks out. So sort of like a reflection of the similar-ish tension, killing a guy in a lower caste or something. I don't know. Yeah. Well, this is the
It
only.
could it could be a lower caste. Um,
They sort of implied that Ted Danson, and to an extent, his wife were different than him on some certainly moral, but also intellectual level. Felt like it was poorer to me, but I don't know. Hard to say, but No, that was how I interpret it. Maybe because I was rooting for Ted Danson, but I don't know. So obviously, we didn't talk about this at all. Ted Danson does nothing funny in this short, but he's most famous for playing Sam Malone on Cheers.
Yes, he is.
Probably best known as a comedic actor. And Leslie Nielsen, best known for playing a number of comedic roles, but most notably Frank Drebin in Police Squad and the Naked Gun films. And the only time in the whole short I was like, this reminds me of a Leslie Nielsen comedy, is he's sort of nervous, but also like, getting over it because he killed Ted Danson. And he's in the bathroom. He takes off his clothes and gets in the shower. And I just imagine a scene where Frank Drebin was naked and had to like do cop stuff. I don't know. I don't know. That
Hmm.
was,
I didn't think of that.
that's just my imagination, but it was kind of funny. He got in the shower. How many movies do they actually? I don't know. It's weird. I guess well, Psycho, but Psycho.
Weirdly, the stepfather, for unnecessary TNA, the daughter gets into the shower. The
There's
first thing
like
came to mind.
the minute I said it, I regretted it because there's lots of movies where people who are in various states of distress or not distress get in the shower, but horror movies. But so yeah, we get the. I did like another aesthetic. They gave they front lit because obviously Ted Danson and the wife come back as zombies, this time aquatic zombies, and they put a mix of like blue light in the back or in the room and like orange light on the zombies. Also another good lighting effect. This guy's the MVP of the movie, whoever the lighting designer was.
Yeah, cinematography by Michael Gornick.
So, so this is very EC Comics, like things that happen more because it's scary than makes sense. But do you have any logical explanation how Leslie Nielsen goes in the bathroom, locks the door, looks at the door, and he's like, "I got away from the zombies," and then the zombies are in the room behind him?
No, it's not supposed to be logical. It's
No,
he
it's not.
can't escape. He can't escape the terrible murders he did type of thing. It's just
Yeah, that was very Tales from the Crypt, and I liked it. So
it's not supposed to be a movie based in realism.
not knocking it. Okay, so we're gonna take another break, so it's good time to wrap this story. But before we go on break, uh, the ending is very silly, but it's probably aside from the Ted Danson underwater face, my favorite part of the movie. So it is convoluted. God bless Stephen King for trying to make all these things he ideas he has make sense with dialogue. The zombies grab Leslie Nielsen and they bury him in the sand to do the exact same thing he did to them. And then Leslie Nielsen says maybe the greatest quote in the whole movie. What was it? It's like, "I can hold my breath for a long time."
Starts cackling because he's even cackling when they have him cornered and he can't escape. So he's gone fully hysterical.
Yeah. And then they do the shot where he gets hit with the first like thing of water, and he's like, "Holy shit, this is like actually difficult." Not that comically, but like, it's like he realizes that
Yeah.
he was bragging about it, but he can't really do it. So I
Plus,
think in terms of like direct resolution of well, Father's Day is a good ending, but in terms of direct resolution of the story, this is like the most fluid. Like it makes sense. He's in the same trap. He's gonna die. It's like it was a good ending. But yeah.
I thought it was too similar to Father's Day in terms of the person or persons who does something bad is just almost kind of sitting around and then the zombie, or in this case, zombies pop up.
Yeah, I definitely did not like the double zombie. They're very similar. It was, I mean, it does fit EC Comics because zombies are the number one perpetrator of righteous revenge crimes in a Tales from the Crypt episode slash comic book. So it is on point, but it is like a little samey. I agree. It's a few minutes, so I guess get started on the next one. Uh,
Yes, before we go, I didn't. The zombies had a good look with the
like seaweed, kind of.
seaweed colored, but I didn't like that they talked like they had water in their mouth.
Oh yeah, because it wasn't because they talked funny, and they also had like a almost felt like a third soundtrack for the like spa bubbles. It was like that was really bad. I did note that. Yeah. So Father's Day was better zombie. That's a villain you can make a franchise out of.
Well, because it's set up by, I've said this line multiple times in this episode, the "Where's my cake, bitch?"
Better catchphrase too. Yeah.
Make that. I wouldn't really, but I should make that my ringtone.
Yeah. Because there's no catchphrase for the water zombies other than like, hold your breath for a really long time, or
They literally parrot what Ollie Nielsen told them. If you hold your breath for a long time, you might be able to make it. And it's obviously a lie, but
I mean, it's already my least favorite of the shorts, but that is pretty lame. But, yeah. Now we move on to arguably, I would say the main event. Not because it's good. I mean, it's good, but it's definitely the longest, has the most acts, plot variations, for lack of a better term. So what is it called? The monster in the box. What's in the box? What's in the
what's the
bags?
story called? Or
Yeah, the story with Hal Holbrook. Like
it's called
story.
The Crate.
Great. Good story. Good name.
The
Yeah.
short story's called, which was weird because two of these stories are based on Stephen King short stories. This one and The Lonesome Death of Jordy Verrill. But Stephen King called The Lonesome Death of Jordy Verrill when he wrote it Weeds. But this one is called The Crate in the movie, and he called it The Crate in his short story.
Yeah. Knowing that he wrote both of these as a short story makes sense as to why they're a little indulgent in their plotting.
Yeah,
So,
the other
and
all the other ones that he didn't write are more.
he wrote the screenplay.
I know, but I mean, he didn't write in terms of short stories before he wrote the screenplay. The more visceral, the ones he didn't do a short story beforehand are more visceral in EC Comics, like with a big baddie or something happen. It builds up to a like a big murder type thing. Where the two short stories he wrote, they're more a little more complex and uh, a nagging problem. I don't know, like that grows. On the case of weeds, or Jordy Verrill, it literally grows. But
Yeah. Speaking of complex or just longer than I thought it needed to be, the crate. I did. It was okay. I guess instead of doing a plot, we could do plot two. But the big picture problem with this is they make a point that Hal Holbrook thinks his wife is annoying.
no, she's definitely annoying, and everyone sees it at the party.
Yeah, felt like the movie struggled to sort of raise her being annoying into she must die, and it kind of made me more sympathetic to her than I wanted to be.
It's not. It's a very creep show reaction to sort of an annoying person. It's obviously in real life, someone's that level of annoying. In his case, you just get a divorce or something, or you try not to hang out with them, I guess. But that's not how creep show rolls.
Yeah,
It's a very movie thing that you're movie trope that you're kind of trapped, not just horror, that when you have someone like that, a wife, a sister, a mother, friend, you're more trapped with them than you really are, type of thing.
yeah. No, I understand. Yeah, I understand. I did like the. That was the thing. I liked the dream sequence at the beginning, but they used it more as like a framing device instead of a motif that would pay off later when he's like, I guess he does it twice, but he shoots his wife at the party and everyone applauds. That was pretty funny, but it was felt almost underused based on its prominence.
Does it twice? That's for an anthology movie. That's actually quite a bit to do a trope like that twice and within one uh
Yeah,
short film or whatever you want to call it.
I guess it sort of abandons the that line of thinking or comedy in the third act of this short. This short is very long. Curious what the timing of it is. It felt long.
That's why I like this one much more than the other ones, is because shifts in tone, I actually think benefit this segment.
Yeah,
It's very almost Monty Python-esque to shoot someone in a dream sequence and get applauded. It's like a comedy, and then gets much more serious towards the end.
yeah,
So, yeah, more of the ups and downs that make good films in this section than easy to predict horror that is kind of, I think, every other segment of Creepshow.
yeah. So we will get by the end of this short to the burden or lack thereof of expectations in the ending. But yeah, we'll save a little more time. Take the 10-minute break now. Be right back. We're back. Just a little capper on our discussion about the imaginary shooting at the beginning of the episode. Just felt like it was setting up something in I was gonna say Tales from the Crypt, but almost more Twilight Zone type thing, where he thinks he's imagining it, but somehow he's doing it every time he does it or whatever. But not saying that's what happened, but they did they did spend a lot of time on it, fair amount of time on it. So we get to the plot of the episode. Uh, we get our slightly dumb janitor, as was the style at the time, calls Fritz Weaver. His name is, I don't know, I'm sure he has a very generic character name.
Dexter Stanley.
He's like, hey, there's this weird crate. Well, yeah, okay. I know it's serves the plot, and it definitely fits the 1950s thing, but it was just kind of silly to me that he just because it's supposed to be he finds this kind of like something from like Indiana Jones. You find like an old crate in these ancient catacombs, but he throws a quarter under a flight of stairs.
Yes.
There's a box there that's been there for forever. It's been a long
1834.
time, and then there's a fully alive monster inside.
Uh, yeah. Must have something to eat in there, which is kind of a joke. More likely, especially in this type of film's logic, it's some evil monster that doesn't eat that can survive without eating
Yeah, that's kind of my problem with. Well, we'll get to the ending. Is that sort of like this ancient evil?
ape.
It's not really beholden to the rules of physics or
I mean, none of these segments are conventional. You have a zombie popping out from a grave. You have uh,
aqua
an
zombies.
alien weed that keeps growing, and then mermaids.
Yeah, I guess it's a mix of it's unrealistic, and I wasn't super entertained by the concept, but we'll get to it. We'll get to it. I really forgot. It's kind of a generic note that Dexter Stanley, aka Fritz Weaver, how rational of a and good-hearted of a character he is. They didn't really give that up in the whole episode. You kind of think they set him up to be like a co-conspirator in Hal Holbrook's idea, but he's not. He wants to call the cops right away. Uh,
It's almost too subtle, but he's actually not completely innocent in because in the beginning of the story they're at a party, like a faculty party.
yeah,
He's being very friendly to young female members of the new members of the faculty.
yeah.
And they talk about that late the
That's the
Hal
part.
Holbrook and Adrian Barbeau's characters talk about that later on that's kind of his deal that he seduces young women.
Yeah, but in terms of the monster, straight as an arrow.
Yes, he's not killing anyone. Yes.
But also he wants to call the cops, and he tries to convince the Charlie, I think his name is the
Charlie Garrison. He always they don't ever call him Charlie. They call him Charlie Garrison. It's kind of weird, but
he
whatever.
tries to convince him to call the cops as well, despite the ridiculousness of the situation. It was very, as far as these movies go in this genre of pulpy anthology stuff, very heroic character, which surprised me. But I mean, it's a good counterpoint to Hal Holbrook, which we'll probably get to at some point. Yeah, I really liked the general scene slash sequence where Charlie tries to peek his head into the room and he gets murdered by the monster. And Fritz Weaver tries to help him a little bit, but he can't. It felt very like grounded. It was very well done as a like horror sequence.
Yeah. Same with the when the custodian gets killed.
Yeah, they didn't play it as dumb as I was worried they would because he was a little slow. I mean, can't I wasn't gonna go down there, but I threw my last quarter down there to buy cokes on the soda machine. Okay, I'm making fun of him. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
It was dumb to go fishing for his quarter because he.
Apparently, the actor who played that guy, the janitor, uh, what's his name? Don Kiefer was like a founding member of the actor studio.
Wow, there is some really good pedigree in this short in particular. If Hal Holbrook is an Academy Award caliber actor, Fritz Weaver's been around forever. I mean, that's about it, but it's still pretty
Oh,
good.
the in the Father's Day, the two old women, Vivica Lindfors plays Bedelia and Carrie Nye plays Sylvia. They had a lot of acting in acting creds in the 50s and 60s and stuff. And actually, so does the old asshole in that short plays Nathan, was in a lot of Twilight Zone and Perry Mason as well.
I didn't recognize him in Twilight Zone, but I'm sure he had more hair and less fat or something. Uh, so I have two nitpicky things. I'm actually skipping pretty far ahead, but because I think this is when not that far ahead. Hal Holbrook goes to Fritz Weaver's house to talk about the monster or whatever. Did you
No,
notice?
it's actually Hal Holbrook's house.
Did you notice the shirt Hal Holbrook was wearing?
I was wearing, wasn't it just typical mildly dressy collared shirts that a professor might wear?
It's very 70s, almost sexy times because it was a rippled tan with blue stripes. It was very garish, surprisingly so, especially for Hal Holbrook.
Whatever. Hal Holbrook had a life before you remember him as the old guy in movies.
He was just a middle-aged guy. I remember movies in this movie. I didn't like the page turning effect in this movie. I don't know if it was just because of the distortion in HD TVs and monitors and stuff. It looks really cheap. You notice that sometimes they turn the page while they're going to the next scene or whatever.
It's like a comic book turn the page type effect.
Yeah, it was like they did like a little. They turn up a piece of paper and go like, whoosh, and then go to the next scene.
No, I don't remember that specific effect in this one you're talking about, but I have incredible love for all the comic booky transition things in this movie.
Do you even like it when they would do like they do a wide shot and they do like a cookie cutter cutout on black with the color? They did it periodically, and I think all of these. I thought that looked really bad.
I thought none of the comic booky things look bad to me.
I get repeat viewings. Maybe it's my particular monitor. I don't know, but whatever.
You have watched this movie a lot and you've thought about this movie a lot.
Yeah, it is fair to say that probably didn't have the biggest effects budget or time.
No.
But yeah, it was kind of weird to me. Keep skipping around, but we cut back to Hal Holbrook's house when what's her actress or character name? The wife.
Adrienne Barbeau?
It was weird to me. I know she put alcohol in it, but it was really weird to me. She started drinking milk. That was weird.
Yep.
And then I don't know. Hal Holbrook's plan was insane. Insane. He had never seen the monster. He had heard his alcoholic best friend talking about the monster, and he's like, I got it. I'm gonna make the monster eat my wife. And then the plan is he's gonna tell his wife that Fritz Weaver raped a young girl, and that's gonna get her to come down there. And admittedly, it all works. But what the fuck?
She's a big gossip, so that's her wheelhouse.
Do you think it was weird that he thought he could control the monster to eat her based just off of Fritz Weaver's story?
They were really good friends who played chess every day, so maybe he believed everything he told him.
How, do you, how would he know he'd be able to control the monster? But whatever.
Maybe off camera he told him that if you bang someone against the crate, they'll be eaten.
I guess. Oh, I thought it was kind of funny because they almost say the name of the movie because Adrienne Barbeau goes into the college or whatever, and she's like, "What are you doing creeping around down there? Creepshow."
Yeah, I got that. Okay.
Okay. Uh, I didn't like the score during. You probably noticed it either. Didn't notice it either, but the score when she's dying, they do a heightened musical cue. It didn't seem very good to me, but yeah.
Typical horror synthesizer score, right? I don't know. It's probably more I'm more middling in my opinion of it. It's typical this type of movie. Not as good as like because John Carpenter scored a lot of his movies using synthesizer and it obviously did a much better job. So it's not on that level, but it's a tier below, but not I wouldn't say terrible. I think you're being too harsh on Mr. John
Harrison.
Harrison, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, listen, that's my polite disagreement. I think these are probably as I tried to describe before, the like extended reaction shots that are almost non-diegetic. The ones of Adrienne Barbeau, Hal Holbrook, and the monster, best in the movie. It was immaculate because they shot him at an angle and they put like these like colored lines around it to signify that like it was more distressing than the last time. I thought it was really expertly done. Kudos to
Also,
the lighting designer.
also a cue that the story's about to end. I feel like in every single segment.
I think the ending was still too drawn out, but we'll get that in a second. Actually, get to it right now, I guess, because although I did I liked part of the ending, and I thought the other part was lazy and meandering. I liked that at the end, Hal Holbrook and Fritz Weaver are both happy and playing chess, and they subtly imply, at least to me, that Fritz Weaver is kind of like, yeah, I'm going along with this, and I'm not turning you in, but I could, and I might later, because they're playing chess too, which is a good symbol of like, obviously that they have like different strategies and
Mhm.
mindsets. So I like the Hell Holbrook sort of like counting on Fritz Weaver to help to bail him out for life, and Fritz Weaver's kind of like, I'm not sure. It was subtle, but I thought it was there.
Yes, kind of like we talked about before. Fritz Weaver's character is trying to do the right thing with this monster, where he wants to kill it and make sure it doesn't hurt anyone else. But Hal Holbrook used it to his advantage, and he's more manipulating because he knows that a lot of details make Fritz Weaver look bad. That there's a lot of blood around, and he's the only one around.
Yeah. So the thing I like about the ending, and I think it's fairly obvious, is so Hal Holbrook throws the monster in its crate into the lake to
It's like,
drown,
yeah,
and at the very end, they reveal that the monster can breathe forever underwater if it wants, and here it comes. It just felt very like, eh, eh. Where's the like? I want Hal Holbrook dead. That's what I want. That's what I expected. Yeah, yeah.
it's a nice change of pace because all the other main characters end up dead in other segments. So I have one where they live.
But I don't know. It felt a little too mythologizing. Reminded me a little bit like it in a
Did
weird
you
way.
know that? So Stephen King wrote this short. He wrote the screenplay too. So it's not like someone changed his story, but maybe he and Romero thought it'd be better to make it more pulpy with the shot of the monster breaking out of the crate and swimming up. In the short story, that's not in there. He throws the crate in the quarry and that's it.
That's pretty dumb too. I think it. Well, yeah. If the I mean this is stupid, but if the throwing the crate in the water and he sees the monster drowning, and then the monster has like tentacles that can shoot out, and it grabs Holbrook by the throat and drags him in the water, I probably would have liked that better.
What is this freaking octopus ape? What?
We're already expanding the monster's powers at a almost exponential rate. So why not throw in aqua powers too?
We'll go back in time and pay add the money to the budget to afford ape tentacles.
Yeah. All right. But I did like the chess game. Fritz Weaver is my MVP of the movie probably because he did not need to be that good of an actor, but he was.
I doubt he's British either, but he has a very austere speaking voice.
I'm pretty sure he's American. He,
Born in Pittsburgh. And speaking of Pittsburgh, do you know that this entire movie is shot in Pittsburgh essentially?
that makes sense for some of the. I don't
That's
know.
where
Locations aren't that good, but yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's where George Romero's from.
Yes, that's where he shot the entirety. Well, I more famously shot Night of the Living Dead in most of his movies because he gave up on Hollywood and refused to go back and blah 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 after this movie, pretty much. But yeah. So wait, where'd it go? Hold on. Oh, there it is. So yeah, we get the final segment of the film. This movie has this. I don't know, whatever. It's a pretty good segment. I have some nitpicks, but
You know the title of this one?
oh my god, that's so many cockroaches.
It's kind of a pun. It's more of a phrase that whatever. They're creeping up on you.
Yeah, it's not really a pun. Yeah.
It's like a double meaning.
So I have to get because a lot of this movie you could give credit to Stephen King for imagining ideas and stuff, but this segment in particular, I think George Romero really shines because I assume he had more of a on hands with the set and stuff with like the whole like it's a home office.
It's his home as well.
I
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I just meant more generically like the design, like the business phone, the jukebox. It's like oh, there's a lot of things that made sense that interconnected. I was very impressed with the artistic design of the house.
Yeah. That's why it
Uh,
was actually a competition for this and the crate for my favorite segment of the movie. For a lot of the stylistic things you're talking about. Because in the movie the power goes out and comes back on. I really
Yeah,
like the shot of the lights on the buildings outside.
yeah. It felt very Christmassy. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but I tend to associate New York at night with Christmas anyway. But yeah, no, yeah. It felt very lived in. Also very weird. It's shot in Pittsburgh because obviously it's supposed to be New York. It felt very New Yorky
Yeah, yes, I believe it's supposed to be set in New York.
because yeah, that felt like that did feel like a high-rise New York apartment. I liked a lot of subtle. The first time I watched this, I was like, "Oh, E.G. Marshall's a douchebag," and he slowly things happen to him. There was a lot more nuance in his performance. It was very good. Like I
Yeah,
like the whole idea where he gets the phone call that his enemy had killed himself, and he's like, "Oh, it wasn't even his enemy. It was one of the managing partners." And he's like, "Well, I get to save some money on the salary then." And then it was kind of like a mix of just being a douchebag, but also like a sardonic sense of humor. But, yeah,
new enemy because he's a Gordon Gekko type character because he takes over a company and the owner of the company took over. His life is ruined due to the takeover and he blows his head off.
yeah. I liked, and there was very good acting on the line where he's like, because he's talking to the wife of the suicide victim, and he's like, "Can I just ask how you got this number or something like that?" The way he did it felt very like there's layers. Not that he's sympathetic to her, but he understands the situation. You're like, yeah, yeah.
Well, he's very unsympathetic and he's actually racist.
I know he's racist, but in the performance, he understands things. There's life behind the lines. Like, yeah. I'm not saying he's a nice guy or anything. He's not. And then I made a note. I think it's kind of obvious, but it should be said that this is very relatable to me. The evil CEO who's like, if you don't call me back in half an hour, you're fired. Remind me a lot of Donald Trump and other similar
Yes.
problems.
I guess this is superintendent. I thought it was his employee. He says, "Hey, I'm taking the kid. Sorry, I can't do that. I'm taking the kids to or the family to Orlando, Walt Disney World." And he says, "If you want your job, you're not going to take that vacation." And then he guilts him into dropping his vacation.
Yeah. So the the crux. I don't know what to call it. The crux of the plot is that these cockroaches keep getting in against his will and authority, and it's very direct. But I think it's a good metaphor. I didn't think of the first time I watched it is that you know cockroaches are black and brown in color, and he wants to kill them all. Kind of some kind of subtext about his racism.
Yeah. Yes, this is most overtly I'm gonna say anti-capitalist, but anti is a term that's escaping me for over the top evil capitalism, cronyism, I guess, kind of thing. I don't know. Not really cronyism, but
Like immoral, well, not immoral capitalism, but yeah, like whatever that would be called. Yeah.
uh yeah. And the cockroaches are the poor people and African Americans.
Something I didn't notice the first time I watched it, although I think subconsciously I got it because we get our first in-person character. I think only other in-person character maybe the what do you call it, the building worker guy.
Mr. Pratt is a wait, no, he's Upson Pratt. Mr. White, Mr. White. Uh, that's
Science,
pretty bad.
bitch. Where's
Uh,
my science, bitch?
he's like a super or something. Yeah.
Anyway,
A handyman, handyman.
my point was he does a affect like a Mr. Bojangles or
Yes.
black scent thing, and he's making fun of what he knows about the Mr. E.G. Marshall character. It was a very
Upson Pratt.
it was a very clever, not clever, but like interesting commentary that he hates working for this guy. He's making fun of him.
Yep.
Oh, I guess I'll bring it up now. It's not that much left anyway, my notes wise. But what do you think of those like circular drawings of cockroaches used as a transition-y device, and there's a frame at the end. There's a bunch of like literally it's a half circle and a line. And it's painted brown. You see those cartoon cockroaches?
Don't remember what you're talking about, but any of the cartoon comic book things I tend to like in this movie. So
But it wasn't just a comic booky like transition-y thing. It was like they literally put a border on the image and filled it with like hand drawn cockroaches.
you know, I missed that, but I probably liked it.
Okay. So uh so I'll get plot into and then almost the end of my notes on this short because it gets very direct as the thing goes. Cockroaches become overwhelming
Yes.
and almost instantaneously take over the apartment. They get into the jukebox, they get in on the floor and stuff, and then he seals himself in his I don't know if I guess it's supposed to be a panic room or something.
So Wikipedia says,
Yeah, and he's like, oh, well, that's the perfect place to get away from cockroaches. And then it's just he flips the was it bedding or was it a couch? He flips something over and it's full of
it
cockroaches.
looked like a bed to me. Could have been a couch of some sort.
So then he knows he's done for. Blah blah blah. Well, that's weird to say it like that. He doesn't resign himself to his whatever. He dies, and then they cut to later. What'd you think of the mannequin that kind of looked like a young Patrick Stewart with cockroaches coming out of it?
It was a cool shot. Good use of makeup or whatever. Kind of Rick Baker-esque. Um,
Like a low budget Rick Baker, but yeah.
yeah.
Well, okay, so I have mixed feelings about this short. It's not my favorite. It's not my least favorite by far. It is very good. I liked a lot of E.G. Marshall's performance and the sort of nuance of his villainy, but him being killed by cockroaches was very obvious from the first time I watched this. It always affects the ending for me.
Yes, I mean, again, recurring themes of Creepshow. The thing that's torturing him at the beginning of the movie kills him at the end, which is actually why this is actually in the fresh section of Rotten Tomatoes, but barely. The cutoff for fresh for our viewers who don't know is 60%, and this has a approval rating of 66%.
The critics?
Yes.
What's the fan score? I'm not that matters, but
I don't know. I don't have it here.
whatever. Fine, 66, fine.
And I
Well,
think it's kind of the plot's kind of predictable, like all of them, except maybe the crate. Um,
I thought the I know he says where's my cake, but the put the head on the cake I thought was
well,
clever.
that part, it's like a little nitpicky detail say it wasn't predicted. The fact that he kills everyone.
I know what you're saying. I actually found the cockroaches a little more of a better ending than the crate, just because I felt it's so distant and unattached to the plot to have the monster come out of the lake. But yeah, and the
Uh,
Jordy Verrill one was there was no plot twist at all in the Jordy Verrill one unless you just had no imagination.
One last point I want to make about they're creeping up on you or the cockroach one. The cockroach one's probably a better title. Is I think Stephen King did E.G. Marshall disservice with some of the dialogue because he talks too much while he's trying to kill the cockroaches that he can, and he's like rambling. I guess if it kind of fits his character because he's a
I enjoyed it.
insane rich person, but he's like, I've stomped out many people in my life, just like I'm stomping out these cockroaches. If you let a cockroach into your home like a person, then they'll a little heavy-handed.
Fit for me. Also,
Overall, I think actually maybe I like this more than you do because I think it was so cool to have the hermetically sealed apartment and all that stuff. It was the best setting of set design and stuff of any of the segments by far.
yes, there was no thought put to the set design of any of these except for this one. Closest was the crate, but the college had two stories based on the framing. It made no sense, but yeah, yeah. Or three stories, I guess. But yeah, yeah. It's like it'd be like if you were in high. I don't know the physical, the physical space of where the crate is that they've never seen in 100 and something years. It's like 10 feet from where everyone walks. It's weird.
Okay.
Anyway, I like the cover. It's fine. Minor nitpick. I would have preferred a better twist, but like I think that's a note for all of those shorts probably. So we get the postscript. Remember the beginning plot that they didn't address the whole movie? It's back, but in plot form. So we get the most heavy-handed dialogue, arguably in the whole movie. Cause, okay, first of all, did you recognize either of the garbage men? Garbage Day.
I've seen like three or four Tom Savini cameos in my life now, so it's 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 inescapable to recognize Tom Savini when Tom Savini appears on screen.
Yes, disappointingly, the other actor is not famous. He's a Richard Schiff, who was in a number of the George Romero zombie movies. He's actually probably in more
Richard,
documentaries
I
about Creepshow than he is movies I would recognize. But yeah,
think Richard Schiff is someone else.
not Richard Schiff. It's Marty Schiff.
Marty.
He wishes he was Richard Schiff. That guy has a relatively storied career. But so the reason I say the plot's very heavy-handed is because they have to set up the next scene exactly. So they go like, "Oh, cool! They threw out a Creepshow magazine. Remember these? These were awesome. You know what I loved about these? The ads in the back. Let's look at those. Uh-oh, looks like someone already bought the voodoo doll." It's like it was very literal.
This whole movie's very literal.
Okay, it was still funny. It was still funny. Laugh, laugh, damn you, laugh. Ah! Ah!
Well, I had to. It's exposition, but they had to explain where he got the voodoo doll. I can't jump into the ending of this little segment here, but
Yes, well, yeah, not much to explain. Like,
if they didn't do that, then you'd be saying, why does the kid have a voodoo doll?
yeah,
How did he get the voodoo doll?
like a lot of plot things I point out in this movie, they're there for a reason, and they do the thing. They could do them better, but whatever. Moving on. It was fine. It was a little silly because you grab a comic book and you start looking at the ads. It felt weird to me, but uh, so yeah, Joe King buys a voodoo doll, or has a wait. We don't know it's a voodoo doll at first. We see Tom Atkins talking to his wife, like, "Oh, my neck hurts all the time. Oh, my neck. What's going on with my neck?" And then we see Joe King
Yes.
has the voodoo doll, and he's poking the neck. Also weird to me. First time I watched this movie, I thought Joe King murdered his dad. It's heavily implied that he's just torturing him or whatever.
I don't know about. Maybe we should do more research into voodoo dolls. Well, they're not real for one thing, uh, but if you stab body parts over and over again, does the person just die from pain, or is it just pain?
Yeah, this movie treated it more like like a what do you call it? Like a yoga massage doll or something. Because yeah, if you poke a needle in a voodoo doll, it's my again just based on movies, you'd think he'd be like, "Oh, I got stabbed in the neck," but instead it was like, "Oh, I've got this radiating pain in my neck."
You start stabbing the voodoo doll in the torso with the pin. I mean, there's vital organs in there. Don't stab your torso, kids.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know how I feel about Tom Atkins dying or not dying. It would make a lot more sense for him not to die because he's still his dad. But also for a horror movie, it just sort of gives you the finality if it's just like he's dead now.
He would have no problem killing his dad based on the "I hope you rot in hell" and the way he said "hope I rot you hell" in the beginning.
People say dumb shit like that to people they don't want dead. I mean, they feel bad at the moment or whatever. I'm not saying. I don't know.
But he's so happy when he sees the demon or the creep. Sorry, the creep. Uh,
Cause he's a cool dude. He presents stories from Stephen King. So yeah, at some point we'll watch Creepshow 2. Spoiler alert: it's all Stephen King written stories. Screenplay adapted by George Romero, directed by the special effects guy. It's not Tom Savini, but maybe it is. No, it's not. It's some other creature effects guy who worked on the first movie, and it's not as good. And we'll watch that at some point. Uh,
good.
I was gonna try to sort out the name of the podcast on air, but maybe we'll do it off air. Save some time because we're kind of hitting it. And I don't want to do a third tape for that. What are we watching next week?
Okay. So make it quick. I haven't finished it yet, so but I like the Hulu Predators, Killer of Predators, whatever it's called.
We
Um,
can do that.
no, let me finish. So the only feature film in the non-Alien versus Predator catalog, because I don't want to watch all those ever in my life. I watched one, that's enough. Uh, I've seen a clip. I've seen a small chunk of the Adrian Brody Predators, so I want to finish that. Um,
That's our movie.
yes, Predators from 2010, which is also on Hulu.
I've heard good things, and then they're making a movie that sounds very similar to it for a live
That's
action.
also why I want to watch it, so I could
Uh,
all the Predator feature films worth watching. Arguably, Predator 2 isn't worth watching with Danny Glover back in the day, but I watched it, so
Prey was good. Predator was good. Obviously, Predator's amazing. Yeah, but yeah, good
I
franchise.
really like the that new Predator movie directed by Shane Black that people did not seem to like, but
This is the rare podcast where we are pro Shane Black's Predator. I don't also want to talk about too much because everyone hates it. But yes.
and then do you want to talk about the want to try to watch review Superman as well?
Oh yeah. So what we'll do is we'll still do a normal episode about Predator.
Predators.
Yeah. But then we'll, in a similar session or the same session, do a bonus episode all about Superman because I feel like people want to have a fairly timely connection to that, and you haven't seen it yet, right?
No, and we love comic book movies here, so let's review them when they come out. That's a good idea. Probably do the same for Fantastic Four, yeah.
Yeah, all the comic movies that come out. I mean, this is like the locust point of the whole year. Yeah, yeah.
Do we want to quickly choose a new title for the show?
I don't know. I like Twin Killing because it was left open ended and it had two twins with different ideas and stuff. Mom, well, our mother. I don't know. Like it's out there. Our
Just say
mother.
mom because
Mom's a big fan of this
sheer
show.
relation.
My mom's the biggest fan of this show. I'm 30. I'm a man. All right. She suggested something like twins go to the movies. I felt that was kind of limiting. I want
How
something
about Twin Bill?
like that. There you go.
Twin Twin viewing? That's worse.
Twin Bill makes sense because that way, if we want to change the format, I want because my original format of Twin Killing was not just that you do a movie, is that you do like we would pick two different movies or something, and then like somehow interact with them. And then I know it's convoluted, but I just want to be open to new ideas. I guess. But, yeah,
Mom doesn't like it because it's
something murder.
murder, but a drawback to Twin Killing being a title is it's very inside baseball because it is baseball. I don't think there's much.
And technically, it's a phrase for all of life. It's just not used very often anymore. Like, oh, you got popcorn and soda, Twin Killing. So it's like two birds. It is basically two birds with one stone in a rephrased manner. Yeah.
Okay,
We'll do Twin Bill for now. I'll update the iTunes. I get more. It seems like we get more interaction on YouTube. But I'll do both. That's about it. Right. Let's just finish up while the energy's high. So, any parting thoughts?
stay cool. It's getting hot this summer.
Remember, if you see a creepy skeleton man, who's a big fan of comic books, you gotta hang out with him. He's awesome. All right, I need to get a Crypt Keeper one because that'll be a good combo. Comic Con, I guess. Alrighty then. Until next time. Now, if you see a twin, give him a dollar bill. Make it money. Must be,
Lots of dollar bills. Inflation's terrible if you can
yeah,
afford it.
make it make a $2 bill and a five. Must be the money. Here we go. Money, money, money,
Never turn down money.
money.